Hello, so today we are working through our Unit 5, Systems of Equations Review. This test is one of the easiest tests that you're going to have for a while. So just make sure that you're paying very close attention because this test is so easy. You should do very, very well. So number 1 says, circle the graph that has no solutions. What you need to know is that if there is a graph that has no solutions, it means that the two lines have to be perfectly parallel. If they bend at all towards each other, even if they don't touch on the actual graph, these guys here are going to touch eventually. So for it to be a no solution, they have to be perfectly parallel. So if we look at this first one here, this is not parallel. These would touch eventually. So this one is not the no solutions. The second graph here, if you kept those lines going, those would touch, not the answer. This one here, keep those lines going, those would touch, not the answer. But if you look at this one, these lines right here are perfectly parallel. They look like railroad tracks. Those lines will never, ever, 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 ever intersect because they have the same slope. So this here is the graph that has no solutions. So those two lines are never going to cross because they are perfectly parallel. So this one here is not the answer because those would touch. This one's not the answer. These guys here would intersect. And then same thing here. Those would intersect, so it's not the answer. So they have to be perfectly parallel for it to be no solutions. So number 2 says draw two equations. So draw two lines is really what we're asking for. Draw two lines that would have no solution. So I want two lines that would have no solution. That means they are perfectly parallel, which means that they would not touch. So no solution means we have lines that are perfectly parallel. Very easy. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 says, what is the x value of this solution? So what you learned in this chapter is that the solution is where two lines intersect, where they cross. So we're going to write down the full ordered pair. To get to this intersection, it goes to the left 4, so that's negative 4. And then it drops down 1. So it went left 4 from the origin, and then it went down 1. So the question, though, is what is the x value of the solution? So we know that the x comes first in an ordered pair. So the answer is just the negative 4. That is the x value of that solution. So number 4 is the same thing. It says, what is the x value of this solution here? Very easy. Let's look at number 5. Number 5 says, which pair of equations represents the graph, the system that is graphed to the right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this equation right here. So this line is like this. So I'm going to write m equals. I'm going to write b equals. So in this first line here, it crosses the y-axis at a positive 4. So that means my b is positive 4. My slope of this line is dropping down the hill, so it's a negative slope. We take the elevator down first. We find the next perfect point, so we can go right here. So what we have here is it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this thing drops 7, and then it goes to the right 1. So the first equation is y equals the slope, which is negative 7 over 1, which is the same as negative 7, x. The back number is a plus 4. So that's my first equation. Now we're going to look at the second equation. M equals b equals. So in this one here, my b crosses the y-intercept at -4. My m is positive because it goes up 1, and then it goes over 1. So my second equation is y equals 1x minus 4. So if I look at my answer choices, option A, -7x plus 4. Yep, that's there. But the second one says 2x minus 4. Nope, it's not a 2. So A does not work. Next, -7x plus 4. Yep, that was the first line. And then x, which is the same as 1x, minus 4. Absolutely. Those matched. The other thing you could do is in your calculator, you could graph these. So if you had gone to your graph, you could type in both of these equations. So you can type in -7x plus 4, enter. Then I'll press tab to get the next one, x minus 4, enter. And you would see that my calculator's graph matches my picture's graph here. So in this one here, the calculator, I typed it into y equals, I graphed it, and it looks the same. So that's the other way. If you don't want to do it by hand, m equals and b equals, figure out which matches, m and b, or you could just type them in and see which matches the picture. Very easy. So number 6 is the same way. You're just figuring out where those lines are. What is the equation of this line? Then what is the equation of this line here? Very easy. When you're ready, go ahead and flip. All right. So in number 7, I'm going to show you how to solve this by hand, and then I'm going to show you how to solve it in the calculator. So that way you have 2 options for this one. You can solve it by hand, and then you can solve it in the calculator. So in number 7, this here is set for something that's called elimination. Elimination means we need a letter that is going to cancel. This is not substitution because we don't have a letter that's by itself. So in order to eliminate, we need to make a letter cancel. If this is a 2x, I can multiply the tops times -2. So the -2 times x would cancel with that positive 2x. So what that looks like, -2x, -2 times 3 is minus 6y, -2 times -1 is a positive 2. Then I'm going to rewrite the original equation, which is 2x plus 6y equals 8. So now when we look at that, we have a letter that will cancel. These x's, -2 plus 2, goodbye. There's no x's there. But if you look here, -6 plus 6, those also cancel. But there's a number, 2 plus 8 is 10, so there's a constant that's left in the back. So what happens is if the letters cancel, but a number remains, we call that no solution. So this one here has no solution. If they all canceled, that's when it's infinitely many. But if the x's cancel and the y's cancel, with a number left over, it's called no solution. So now we're going to check that. I'm going to pretend that I didn't change anything in the first equation. Okay, so what we learned at the end of this week, we said, hey, let's make your life a little bit easier. So in this here, you can go to Menu, Algebra, Systems of Equations, Enter. And you can just type it in, x plus 3y equals -1. Scroll down, 2x plus 6y equals 8. Enter. Well, look at that. It says if we typed in the original equation that you had, x plus 3y, 2x plus 6y, it says, look, there is no solution found. That means that answer has no solution. Very easy. Okay, so in number 8, you'll do the same thing. You can just type it in and see what you get, or you can use elimination to cancel. One thing that you need to know is that if in the calculator, no solution will literally say the words no solution. However, infinitely many solutions would show up as this weird like CL thing. So when you have your ordered pairs, if it says CL, that's the calculator's way of saying like, whoa, 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 it's not a real number. It's infinitely many solutions. So let's see what that looks like. So I'll show you here. So again, menu, algebra, systems of equations, 2x plus 4y equal sign negative 8. X plus 2y equal sign negative 4. Enter. So see this here? So in this weird bold CL, you're like, what the heck? That's not a number. So what this means is the answer is not 2, 4. This means that if you see this little CL, it means your answer is infinitely many solutions. So that's the calculator's way. It's programmed to say, like, CL, uh-oh, it's too complex, we can't do it. Infinitely many solutions, if you ever see that notation in your calculator. No solution, straight up will tell you, no solution found. Very easy. Let's look at number 9. So in number 9, we are going to do this by hand, and then we're going to do it in the calculator, and it's very easy. So in number 9, again, this is set up for elimination because we have x's, y's, and numbers. So in this one here, it's already ready to cancel, but I'm going to write it out to the side so that way I still have a clean equation here when we double check our answer. X plus y is negative 1. Okay, so when we look at what we have here, they're ready to cancel. Negative x and a positive x means there's no more x's. So now we just combine like terms. Negative 6 plus 1y is negative 5y's. Negative 4 minus 1 is a negative 5. We get y by itself by dividing negative 5. So we end up with the fact that y is positive 1. So that's great, but remember a solution is an x value and a y value. So what we do with that 1 is we pick either equation and we plug it in for y. So this second equation is much prettier. There's less negatives. So the second equation says x plus, instead of y, I know that y is 1, equals negative 1. And then I solve minus 1, so x is negative 2. So now if we go back to our question, we need to make sure we're answering it. It says, what is the x value of the equation? X value. So the x value is the number negative 2. That's how they'll ask you on STAR all of the time. They say, what is the x? Or what is the y? So you have to make sure that you answer the correct question. So now let's double check it to make sure that answer was correct. So when I have 2 equations, I can just go to menu, algebra, systems of equations, and just type it in. Negative x minus 6y equals negative 4. X plus y equals negative 1. Look at that. So you just type it in, and it said, hey, look, your answer is negative 2, 1. That's what that calculator said. Yep, that's right. So now the answer says, what is the x? The x is the number that came first in that ordered pair. So that's how you can always check. Just type it in, menu, systems of equations, type it in, and you would get negative 2. All right, let's take a look at number 10 together, and then we'll try the rest in the calculator. So in number 10, it says, again, a system of 2 linear equations is given. What is the x value? So in this one here, just to solve it by hand, so you have the ability to solve by hand. So for this here, we have a letter that's by itself. That's nice. That's called substitution. So in the other equation, I'm going to write negative 5x equals negative 6. instead of the y, I know that y is negative 7x plus 22. And then I know that there's a minus 9 in the back. So now we just solve. In order to solve, I like to draw a border on my equal sign so that separates our two sides. Step 1, get rid of parentheses. Negative 6 times negative 7 is 42. There's an x here. Negative 6 times 22, you can use the calculator, is minus 132. Then in the back, there's a minus 9. On the left side, there's a negative 5x. So now we do something called combining like terms. Negative 5x is on the left, 42x, that's ugly. Negative 132 minus 9. Negative 132 minus 9 is the number negative 141. Now I move the letter to the left, so minus 42x, minus 42x. That leaves me with negative 47x equals negative 141. We get x by itself by dividing. And we end up with the answer 3. So we use substitution to get this. So now we would take this x value and plug it back in to solve for y. So you would be able to see what y equals if you plugged it back in. But look at this question. It just says, what is the value of x? Oh, it's right there. You got it. X is 3. So now if you struggled with substitution, that was one of the harder pieces of this unit, we can always just double check. Just plug it in, go to menu, go to algebra, solve systems of linear equations. Okay. Type it in exactly as you saw it in the original equation. Y equals negative 7x plus 22. Negative 5x equals negative 6y minus 9. There you go. The calculator would have told you the answer was 3, 1. Again, the question says, what is the x value? The x number came first, so the x is 3. So in this one here, we used our calculator, plugged in the original, and we got x is 3. So now that you've seen me do one elimination and one substitution by hand, now we're going to go back for the sake of time. For these here, you can just type it in the calculator. Very easy. So if we look at number 11, anytime we have two equations, I just plug it in menu, algebra, solve systems. 15x minus 12y equals 13. 30x plus 9y equals 4. Enter. Fractions are fine. Don't let them scare you. There is nothing wrong with a fraction. All that means is that if you were to graph these, the place where they crossed is like not on a perfect ordered pair. The place where they crossed would be like to the right a third and then down 2/3. Fractions are fine. But we need to make sure we're answering the question. So the question here says, what is the y value? What is the y value? But then it says, write your answer as a decimal. So in order to go from a fraction to a decimal, you just press Control, which is this button, and then Enter. When you press Control, Enter, I'll write that down. If we're turning a fraction to a decimal, we just press Control and then Enter. And what happens is it gives it to you in a decimal. So this here as a decimal is 0.333333 and negative 0.667. So the question here said, what was the y value? The y value of our answer is the one that comes second. So that there is the y value. So try the same thing with number 12. You can type it in the calculator by going to Menu, Algebra, Systems of Equations. Type in your two equations and get your ordered pair. Again, this one wants the y value. If these are fractions, to turn it into a decimal, you press Control, Enter. So easy. As always, this review looks very similar to your test on Friday, so therefore you should do very, very well. So anytime you have two equations, you can go to Menu, Algebra, Systems of Equations. Okay, so let's move on, flip to number 13. All right, now the fun stuff. So in number 13, we are now moving into applications. At the top of your page, we're gonna write what we learned. So we learned the first type. I called it hot Cheetos and Takis to be funny. What that means is it's like we're going grocery shopping. We pick up some number of one thing plus another number of the other equals a total amount of money. Then we learned something called money, 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 which means if you ever see $3 signs in an equation, you put them together. After that, we extended it to something called coins, which we'll look at in just a second. So those are the three big hitters that we're going to focus on today. So let's look at 13. 13 says, Kristen spent $25 to buy 9 flowers for her mother on May 10th. She bought roses, which costs $3, and daisies, which cost $2. How many roses and how many daisies did she buy? So first thing we need to do is identify our variables. They're always in the question. Just go straight to the question. It says, how many roses? So I'll use the letter R for roses. You could use X and Y if you'd rather. And then how many daisies? It doesn't matter what letter you use, as long as you define what it means. So now this type, notice I have money, money, money. So that means I'm using this type. I'm putting all of those dollar signs together in one equation. So the smaller amount of money was $3 for roses plus $2 for daisies equals the total money. Money plus money equals total money. Very easy. So now the only other thing that we need, May 10th, doesn't matter. That's like extraneous information. I don't care what date it was. The only other number we actually need is the number of flowers. This girl bought 9 flowers. So that's my other total. What kind of flowers did she buy? She bought roses and she bought daisies. So now we're going to go to your calculator. Again, it's a system. This whole chapter is about systems. 2 equations and 2 unknowns. So in this one here, we have 2 equations, but instead of x and y, I'm going to change it to r, comma, d. So instead of x and y, I'm just putting r, comma, d. So now I can type it in with these letters that we had here. So it's 3r plus 2d equals 25. R plus D equals 9. Don't forget your letters. Make sure the R and the D are in both equations. Okay, so the answer the calculator tells you is it's 7, 2. So 7, 2 is great, but that doesn't really answer the question. Which one is roses? Which one is daisies? So what we see in the equations is that roses came first. So roses has to be the 7. Then we had daisies second. So daisies have to be the 2. So we always write the answer in words. We bought 7 roses and we bought 2, that's ugly, daisies. 7 roses and 2 daisies. Did we answer the question? Yep. How many roses and how many daisies? Very easy. Go ahead and try the same thing for 14. Money plus money equals total money. So easy. All right, so let's take a look at number 15. So 15 is the same type. It's like money, 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 but it's some word plus that word equals the total word. So it says a college student needs 11 classes that are worth a total of 40 credits in order to complete her degree. The college offers both 4 credit classes and 3 credit classes. How many of each class must the student take to complete her degree? So what we have, the word that repeats itself is credits plus credits equals total credits. It happened 3 times. 4 credit classes plus 3 credit classes equals 40 credits. I can't use C for classes twice because you can't have the same variable. So I'm just going to call it 4x, 4 for the first type, plus 3y credits plus credits equals total credits. Just like money plus money equals total money, same idea. Credits plus credits equals total credits. The only other number here is this 11. This 11 does not say credits, so it's in its own equation. This girl took a total of 11 classes. The first type of class plus the second type of class equals her 11 classes. So now we're going to type it in. Menu, algebra, systems. We used x and y. 4x plus 3y equals 40. X plus y equals 11. And I get the answer 7, 4. So what this means is that she took 7 of the first type of credits. So she had 7 of these 4 credit classes. And she had 4 of these 3 credit classes. In this type of system, very common on the STAR test is that they'll just have you set it up. So like this might be the answer in a multiple choice question. But I can type it in and get the actual answer, 7, 4. So try the same thing with number 16. A science question is worth 100 points and has 25 questions on it. There are multiple choice questions, which are 3 points, and there are short answer questions, which are 8 points. So the word that repeats itself is points plus points equals total points. Very easy. The only other number for the other equation is that there were 25 questions. So go ahead and set those up and get your answer there. Very, very easy. All right, next. Number 17 says, what is the solution to this system? So this is really hard to see because these boxes or this copy did not work very well, but that's okay. We'll make it work. So what we need to know here is where they cross. So we're going to solve this by something called the process of elimination. So we're going to try A. A says that they cross their solution, they cross at 0, negative 0.5. Do they cross right here? 0, down 1.5? No. So the answer is not A. Letter B says they cross at 1.5, 1/2. That would be like over here. So hard to see. Nope, it does not cross there. C says that they cross right before the 1, yep. And then right about 0.2, yep. So this might be the answer. D says they cross at 0, 1. No, that's not where they intersect. So the correct answer is C. So try the same thing with number 18. 18 says they cross, you go left a little bit, and then that's positive, so you would go up a little bit. No, they don't cross there. Letter B, positive 1.5, positive 0.5, no, that would be like way over here. Letter C, left 0.8, up 0.2, no. Letter D, left 0.8 maybe, down 0.8, yes. This is the only one that would take you left and then down. Okay, go ahead and flip. All right, 19. Okay, 19 and 20, two left. So remember, we have three types of word problems that we focused on before we did regular translating. So we said hot Cheetos and Takis, we said money, 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 we said coins. So in this one here, it says the mall is having a holiday sale. For $43, you bought 2 pairs of gloves and 4 hats. For $30, you bought 2 pairs of gloves and 2 hats. What is the price of each hat? So in this one, do we have $3 signs? We sure do not. So I cannot put that money together. So all I'm doing is reading this and turning it into an equation. What is the price of the hat? Okay, so that means that my gloves and my hats are my variable. So it says you buy 2 pairs of gloves, okay, that's 2G. And 4 hats, okay, that's 4H. For a total of $43. Easy. Second one, you bought 2 pairs of gloves and 2 hats for $30. Easy. If you don't have 3 money signs, then it's not putting it together. The money is just your total. So 2 gloves and 4 hats equals $43. So now that we have 2 equations with 2 unknowns, we can use our handy dandy calculator. Menu, algebra, systems. The 2 is good. I'm going to change these to a G, comma, H. It says 2 gloves plus 4 hats equals $43. 2 gloves plus 2 hats equals $30. Enter. Oof. So am I going to go to the store and be like, hey, 17 over 2 is the number of gloves and hats you need? That doesn't make sense. So if you have fractions in a real life question, then press Control, Enter, and it turns it into a decimal. Much nicer. So it's going to be 8.5. Since it's money, that's the same as 8.50. And then 6.5, which is the same as 6.50. So those are my answers. So now we have to label. G came first, so those are gloves. H came second, so those are hats. That's great. Put it in words. It's going to cost $8.50 for the gloves, and it's going to cost $6.50 for the hats. Now, what is the question? What is the price of each hat? Just the hats. Your final answer is the number that was with only the hats. $6.50 is my answer. Okay, try the exact same thing with number 20. Again, this is not a money, money, money. There's only $2 signs. That just means we are translating. This is like hot Cheetos and Takis. I buy one thing, I buy another thing, I check out. I buy one, I buy the other, and I check out. So try number 20. Last but not least, 21 and 22. My favorite types. These are so easy. It says a bag contains a collection of quarters and nickels, which are worth $3.50. There are 30 coins in the collection. Write the system of the equation that can be used to determine the number of quarters, Q, and the number of dimes, D, in the bag. Simply set up the 2 equations. You do not need to solve this one. How nice of me. All we need to do is set up the 2 equations. You don't have to plug it in the calculator and get the answer, because this one just says set it up. So write the system that would work for this here. Don't solve it. We're just going to write it. So what we had said with coins is that it's kind of like a money, money, money question. So I find my total money, $3.50. What did we have in this question? We have quarters and we have nickels. So those are my variables. Q for quarters, N for nickels. Okay, we put the value of a quarter. A quarter is worth 25 cents. We put the value of a nickel, 0.05. And it magically just turned into a money question. The value, decimal plus decimal equals total decimal. That's how coins questions work. The only other number is a 30. So that means the other equation has to have a 30. There are 30 coins. What types of coins did we have? We had quarters and we had nickels. We just had to set it up. Decimal plus decimal equals total decimal. Very easy. So try the exact same thing with number 22. It's coins. I see a coins question and I'm like, yes, so easy. This is not hard. We found our money. We're talking about dimes and pennies. Be careful. A penny is 0.01. It's not 0.1. It's 0.01. So the value of a dime plus the value of a penny equals our total value. Then there are 36 coins. Those types of coins are dimes plus pennies equals 36. Again, for 22, you only need to set it up. You do not need to solve it. Just set up the two equations, just like we did for 21. Okay? So if you made it all the way to 22, I want for you to drop into your comments, what is your expected grade? So if your test on Friday looks just like this review, tell me, what do you think you would make? Would you make a 70? Would you make an 80? Would you make 100? What is your expected grade based on how well you did on this review? Looking through it, how well do you think you're going to do on your test? Drop that in the comments and I'll come by and bring you a treat. Very easy. Good luck on your test on Friday. I hope you guys all do very, very well.